Happy Thursday. Welcome here to another edition of Husker Online Headlines. Sean Callahan, Steve Sipple. We are with you here each and every week for headlines as we get you ready for the game, as it is the game in college football, arguably one of the most watched games in the country, Nebraska, Colorado. And that takes us, Steve Sipple, to our first headline here on Husker Online Headlines. The nation's eyes will be on Boulder, Colorado. It sure looks that way. As you look last week, Colorado drew almost 7.5 million viewers, and that was game one of the Prime era. And I think now heading into week two, people are even more captivated on top of the Nebraska ratings boost you always get with a Nebraska game. This game has a chance to draw over 10 million viewers and be the most watched Nebraska football game on television since the Indomitian Sioux Big 12 championship game in 2009.
Big time. I mean, Sean, think what's going on here. I mean, the Matt Rule era starts with a road game against a Big Ten foe, followed by this. I mean, he didn't ease into anything. Nebraska is not exactly easing into this season. I mean, this is hardcore stuff. I mean, first of all, can I say that Nebraska needs a win here? Does it sound strange to you to say that?
I mean, it just, you hate to say it, but the season, if they don't win this game, it's just going to feel like at a loss already. It's going to feel like you're in this hole that you're never going to get out of.
Let me do this. Let me try to make it sound like we're rational human beings. This will legitimize that notion, that sort of sentiment. That Nebraska is not, it's a young roster. It's not a young lineup. Nebraska has 9 upperclassmen on offense and 8 in the starting lineup, in the offensive starting lineup, 9 upperclassmen, 6 juniors and 3 seniors. On defense, it's 8 upperclassmen, 5 and 3. It's a veteran team. It's a veteran team that made clear to Rule right away, we want to win now, okay? We want to get to a bowl. These veteran players haven't gone to a bowl game. You go 0-2, you got to win 6 of your last 10. That's the rational explanation for urgency, I think, right?
Well, yeah, and if you lose one non-conference game, that means you've got to win at least 4 Big Ten games to go to a bowl.
Right.
And, winning 4 or 5 or 6 Big Ten games is really hard to do.
It is. So it gets back to what you said here. The nation's eyes are on Boulder. That's a lot about Prime, about Deion Sanders. But the Nebraska side of it is really fascinating. I mean, I'm wildly interested in what's going on right now. Part of it's just the nature of starting a season with two tough games. It ramps up the excitement, it ramps up the intensity, and it ramps up the urgency. Now, if you want to ease into a season, that's one way to do it. Just play Northern Illinois, play Louisiana Tech back to back. You won't get the excitement though.
Yeah, so do you think though, in a case like Matt Rule, would it have made sense? I mean, wouldn't you love to have Michigan's schedule? And yeah. I feel like,
meaning East Carolina, UNLV, and who's the other one?
I mean, they play like
Bowling Green or something.
Somebody not very no Power 5 teams.
Right.
Where I feel like Nebraska, the Big Ten has this great television deal. The problem is they need inventory every week. They can't have bad inventory in September. So Nebraska is a perfect example of a team that, hey, let's open a year up with Nebraska in these early slots.
Yeah.
And it gives us a rating, but we preserve Michigan, we preserve Ohio State and Penn State for later. It's part of this formula like that. It's going to guarantee great ratings for this conference, and in this case, it's a Pac-12 game, but it's Fox,
right?
And so it's the Big Ten that gets this game, but Fox has played this perfectly.
Oh God!
They got 7.5 last week with Deion Sanders. Then they're going to get this game over 10.
So you're saying 10 million viewers
should get. I mean, there's a thought that this game, which is just crazy, could get more viewers than Alabama, Texas.
Right.
Which in what world does that make sense? But
in the Deion world,
when you bring in kind of this Kardashian reality TV show element, I was in my workout class this morning, and there are women like that don't really follow football, but they're interested because they want to watch Deion Sanders.
That's the thing. And not only is it Deion Sanders, it's wait a second, they're ranked. Wait a second, they weren't supposed to beat TCU. Wait a second, they weren't supposed to look like that. They look good. So that changed the discussion too. And Nebraska, I mean, obviously he's playing second fiddle, right? I mean, they're the secondary act in this show, but they're still pretty good, and they're a draw. They're a huge draw, as you've mentioned. So, Sean, I would just tell you this. It can't get that much more interesting.
I'm just curious, like, how early it's going to start there. Like,
what do you mean?
The partying and the pre-gaming.
Yeah.
Like, will it just basically go all night into the game, and then after the game, people go crash? Or will it just kind of begin at about 6, 7? I mean, we're going to get up early. Like I've already said, like, hey, we're not messing around. Like, first of all, I got to be on channel 7 at 8. So
8 a.m.
8 a.m. Mountain Time. The game's at 10, but we've played games out there. Nebraska's played games out there at 10 before. I think at least 3 times. The 05 game, I would say the 7 game and the 9 game were all at 10 a.m. So this is not new. Those are on Black Friday though.
Right. And you've been told, we have to show up and park 2 miles away.
And there's a shuttle.
And at the press box is packed.
And, the last time we were there, you got really good parking. I mean, you parked like.
Oh, we parked like, it was like a block from the stadium.
Right. And the press box had room. I mean, we're anticipating. And let's be clear, like there was a time when we covered Nebraska football where the press boxes would be jam-packed when Nebraska was a perennial power, and there'd be like stools behind you, like bar stools, because it'd be so crowded. And that was before like Wi-Fi and people didn't have laptops. You just had a notebook or whatever. This press box is going to be like that.
Yeah, it is. It's going to be jammed. The stadium's going to be jammed, and it should be a good game. I mean, it really, and it's a fast. I know I overuse that word, but man, it just can't get that much more interesting. And it's almost like it would be nice to have a week off after this, maybe, because this has been a lot.
I'm tied 2 road trips in a row to start the year on top of finishing the book I've been working on. It's been a long summer.
Well, I just frame it up this way. These 2 games they're both really intense. And there's a lesson there. I mean, do you want to start it that way? I think there's a lot of pros to doing it. It's exciting.
As long as you win.
Well, yeah, win would really help. Right.
There's some pushback though of like us talking too much about Deion, but it's a story. It's like legit.
So far, so good on this podcast. We haven't overdone it. But sure, people are sick of the praise. All I'm saying is they looked a lot better against TCU than I thought they would. I don't know if they looked like a top 25 team. They're rated 22nd. You were throwing out some stats off air.
Yeah, Sugarland. Sugarland, one of our great subscribers on HuskerOnline, shared some stats on their defense to me in a message here on HuskerOnline today. They gave up 7.1 yards per carry,
right?
541 total yards. But this one gets your attention. In that game, on 42 passing attempts, Colorado had no sacks, Steve Sipple. They had no tackles for loss and just 2 quarterback hurries.
It's good. It's a good sign for Nebraska.
That's a great matchup for this offensive line in Nebraska. Like they're not going to have to worry about, okay, like remember when they played Oklahoma and they had that, was it Nico Rigoni or?
Yeah, I know who you're talking about. They fired a guy off the edge a lot. Now be careful with that discussion because Colorado they have pretty good players on the edge of their defense.
But they didn't
do it against TCU.
40, yeah, they didn't get anything.
Right. So they came into the season thinking those edge guys are formidable. That's a strength of the team. It didn't materialize against TCU. They came into the game thinking their perimeter players on offense are a strength. That did materialize against TCU. But Sean, I'm just going to go back to what I said. They're better than I expected, mostly in that they're disciplined. They only had 6 penalties against TCU. That's pretty good for 35 yards. 6 penalties, 35 yards, 1 turnover. I was pretty amazed by how clean they were. And then when you add on the fact they might have the best player in the country, or one of them, in Travis Hunter, and just good skill in general. Dylan Edwards, Jimmy Horn, Xavier Weaver. Those guys are good players, Sean. Really good.
Now,
players.
Miles Slusher, one of their best defenders on the back end, is out. He's a safety.
Okay.
And he made the game-saving tackle on 4th and 9 with 55 seconds remaining in that win over TCU.
Okay.
He's out. So
okay, that's big.
That's big. There's going to be, I'll say this now, Nebraska's offense will have a lot of big plays in this game. Can they finish the drives, though?
Oh, that's big.
They're going to, from the 20 to the 20, they're going to get plays.
Well,
but can they stick it in?
Both sides, that's huge. If you can hold Colorado, if you can limit them to field goals, that helps you a lot. And it's the same. You're right. If you're kicking field goals, if you're Nebraska kicking field goals, it's not good. That's a big part of the game is the red zone. There's no doubt about that, Sean.
All right. Before we get to headline number 2, this show is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. I'm very excited to announce our new partnership with Underdog Fantasy. We decided to partner with Underdog because it's the easiest place to play fantasy sports. It's also the fastest growing fantasy app in the industry. Underdog Fantasy has a lot to offer, including their Pick'em game and Pick'em. You pick whether your favorite players will have a higher or lower stat total in this week's games for a chance to win big. It's so easy to play. Just pick 2 to 5 of your favorite players and choose whether they'll go higher or lower. You can go 20 times your money by going 5 for 5. They also have a Best Ball Mania. If you think you know football, you've got to check this one out. This year's Best Ball Mania had over $15 million in total prizes up for grabs, with the winner taking home $3 million. So sign up with promo code Husker and get your first deposit doubled up to $100. Visit UnderdogFantasy.com or find them in the App Store. And don't forget to register with my promo code Husker to get your first deposit doubled for up to $100. You must be 18 or older and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-522-4700 or visit www.ncpgambling.org. All right, let's take it to headline number 2.
Okay.
All eyes are going to be now on quarterback Jeff Sims as well. Will Jeff Sims, Steve Sipple, be able to rebound from that 3 interception performance? And what kind of rope will he have this week if he continues to make the same mistakes?
What kind of leash?
Leash.
You put your dog on a rope?
I just
leash. Leash.
It's a bad.
No, rope's actually okay. Sean, think about the nature of these discussions. Again, I emphasize this is game 2. Game 2 of the rule era, game 2 of Jeff Sims at Nebraska. It's a legitimate question. I'm not criticizing the question. What kind of leash does he have? I've talked to guys that say you can't win with him. I think that's premature, but what if he does come out and throws a touchdown pass and 2 picks? And his ratio coming out of the gate is 2 touchdown passes, 5 interceptions. He's trying to put behind him what he did at Georgia Tech. If he doesn't do it in the first 2 games, then you start to wonder, is that just who he is? Right now, Sean, I've said this stat way too much this week, but it's a critical stat. Right now, for his career at Georgia Tech and 1 game at Nebraska, he's 31 touchdown passes and 26 picks. 31-26 is not the ratio anybody's after, okay? So you want to see Sims prove what he has said and what his coaches have said, and that is he's going to be a different quarterback here. He's going to raise his completion percentage, which at Georgia Tech was 57.5, and he's going to cut down on turnovers. We got to see it. And the last thing I'll say, Sean, Colorado knows what's coming. They know Nebraska is going to try to power at him at the running game. Colorado knows that. Those guys are going to be counseled on that all week. They are going to try to make Sims beat them. Can he do it?
And it's funny, like if Nebraska was in this game under Scott Frost, they probably wouldn't have played with this style of offense. It would have been a little bit more spread out.
Spread it.
It would have been, I mean, pretty similar attacks.
I think so.
Frost wanted to run it.
The thing you said earlier this week that made the most sense to me was if you're looking for a game that would be a comp and one that would make sense for Nebraska to use that style is the Oklahoma game in 2021.
23-16. It was the only time Lincoln Riley had been held under 30 points.
The teams combined in the first quarter for 3 possessions. Nebraska had 1 possession in the first quarter. Oklahoma had 2. I think that's the kind of game you want. If you're Nebraska, no, I don't think that. I know that. That's the kind of game.
It was 7-3 at halftime.
Right. That's the kind of game you want. If you're 7-3 at halftime against Colorado, you're winning.
Well, and they're going to get upset, and they're going to get aggressive and they're going to get frustrated with that kind of game.
Yeah.
And I think if you're Nebraska, you come in just full Big Ten. I mean,
100
sweatshirts, bumper stickers.
Yep.
Tight ends, fullbacks,
put some neck braces on.
We're going 1987 Ohio State, Michigan, and they are. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if like Teddy Prohaska comes in as an extra tight end. I mean, I think Rule will just go so heavy because Colorado's best defensive lineman, Steve Sipple, is from Dartmouth. I'm not trying to trash their but do you think at Dartmouth a year ago he saw like that kind of look?
No, Nebraska's got a big let's see it though. I mean, Nebraska's got a big veteran offensive line and their strength should be run blocking. And let's see it. I mean, let's see that. And let's see Barrett Liebentritt put a neck roll on him just for effect. Just for effect.
Just eye paint, neck roll.
Put a neck roll on him. Make him look like Schlesinger. You're 100% right. Let's see a Big Ten team. Let's see a Big Ten team. Let's see what Big Ten looks like against Big 12, a real Big Ten team.
They're not Big 12 yet.
Yeah, wow, no, that's true.
It's kind of confusing, though. You want to call them Big 12 already again because they are
next year.
But this is kind of the lame duck year of the Pac-12, which, by the way, the Pac-12 went undefeated in week 1.
Yeah, I know, 13-0. One thing I also want to say about Sims. And this is, I've come around on this, and we talk so much, I don't even remember what I say half the time. But if I've said that you need to put him on a pitch count in terms of carries, forget that. Erase it. Just run him as much as you have to. Yeah, especially in this game.
I think that's overrated.
Pitch count?
Because they called 12 design runs for him. And then
against Minnesota.
And then there were scrambles. And the dumbest thing about college football stats is they count sacks in the rush total.
It's really dumb.
Like, why haven't we figured this out?
Right.
I mean, the NFL's figured it out.
Right.
Like, when you look at the rushing total of a game, sack yardage should not be included in the rushing game.
Right.
Period.
Right.
And so, like, Sims had 2 scrambles and he had 12 design runs. I mean, that was his real true rushing load in that game.
12 design runs for 101 yards. That's effective. So run him. Hey, run him 18 times and get him 104. If he runs 18 times for 140 yards, you feel pretty good, right?
And I like the comment from Marcus Satterfield this week. He goes, this is going to be a series of body blows. And early on, they may not get much, but by the end of the game, we want these to break.
Well, and the other thing about Satterfield is you can tell, and I noticed this before the season in August, he likes Sims running the ball. He got excited yesterday on Wednesday when he talked about how well Sims went into contact. He ran a counter play, he said, against Minnesota and went and ripped into 2 defenders and powered forward. And what did Satterfield say? He said it just sounded different. Like, I mean, he's 6'4", 225. He runs like a tailback. Use him. I get it. I know what people are saying. Sip, you're going to get him hurt. I'm not saying to be unreasonable about it, but also don't hesitate, especially in a game like this that you need to win. I think you, at some point somebody's going to say, you sound crazy. Why do they need to win? No, they need to win. I mean,
because there's such a microscope on this place that, just the whole tenor of the whole place changes. And that affects the players. You can't tell me it doesn't.
Well, especially these older guys that want it so bad. I don't want for Luke Reimer to start 0-2. I don't want for Nick Henrich to start 0-2. I don't want for that entire offensive line to start 0-2. When I say this, it's some of it, I don't want to sound like a homer, but those guys have paid. I mean, it's really been a rough ride.
There was a moment when they beat Northwestern in 2021 and that where they just looked unreal. And then they played Michigan the next week. I mean, that was probably like one of the best parts of the Scott Frost era.
The Northwestern Michigan back.
That little combo. Yeah. And Matt Abdelmasseh, the old basketball assistant, comes up to me. He's like, God, they beat Northwestern. I mean, you would think they won the national title. I mean, I know people were just so hopeful. We need that.
Michigan, and then Michigan came,
and they almost beat Michigan.
And they damn near beat them in the second half. I mean, the second half, Frost called a perfect game offensively almost. The game plan was right, and then there's that crushing result that we've been so used to. So the fan base is really hungry, and I respect that. But more important to me is those guys that are playing, these veteran players. Then Newsome. I mean, I don't want to name them all, but think about the price these guys have paid.
Ty Robinson.
Yeah, all these guys. I'm not feeling sorry for them. You just kind of at some point want to see them have some success, real success. This would be real success, beating a top 25 team on their home field.
All right, before we get on to our next headline, this show and segment brought to you by CHI Health. It's really important to have a great relationship with your primary care provider. It helps you stay on top of everything. I go in annually to my local CHI on 40th and Yankee Hill and see Dr. Johnson, get my blood checked, just get all the numbers done every year. It is important. And, they make it easy at CHI now. A beautiful new clinic here in Lincoln on 40th and Yankee Hill Road. And if you're not feeling well, they've got a priority care program that operates 7 days a week from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. That includes Sunday. You can just walk in. They have a pharmacy as well on site if you need prescriptions. It's a really, really nice facility with tons of services. They can get x-rays done there. They have other specialists and great people that you can consult with. That's CHI Health. If you don't have a primary care provider, go check it out. I see Dr. Johnson over there, and they've got a lot of other great doctors in that building over there on 40th and Yankee Hill Road here in Lincoln, and many others across our listening area. Visit them at chihealth.com/Yankee Hill. That's their brand new Lincoln location. Thanks again to CHI Health Clinic here for being a sponsor of the Husker Online show and Husker Online headlines. All right, headline number 3, Steve Sipple. Nebraska's defense faces a much stiffer challenge this week when they take on the fun and gun of Sean Lewis's offense that had 4 100-yard receivers. I mean, think about this. Jador Sanders, in his very first game as a Colorado Buffalo, broke the school record for passing yards in the history of the game of Power 5 football. How many times has that ever happened?
Well, not much. I mean, he threw for 510 yards, completed 38 of 47. Now, this is a good one. I mean, Sean, people are tired of us heaping praise on these guys, but Shedeur Sanders, I didn't know exactly what to expect. He came from Jackson State. He was a 4-star recruit. Now, his numbers at Jackson State were excellent. He was a 70% passer at Jackson State. He threw for almost 4,000 yards, 3,752. He threw 40 touchdowns against only 6 picks. So he had the numbers at Jackson State. Still, you don't know how that'll translate. Well, what we saw is it translated really well, helped by the fact that he is throwing to premier receivers, not just Travis Hunter, Jimmy Horn, excellent. Xavier Weaver, excellent. You get Dylan Edwards out of the backfield. Excellent. He benefits from that. And he got pretty good protection.
Yeah, his pocket presence and awareness.
Yeah.
I mean, that was elite for game 1.
It was.
But just the tackling, I think that is the biggest thing to watch for Nebraska. Will they tackle in space? They did great last week. Mm-hmm. And don't sell Minnesota's receivers short. No. I mean, it's a very good group, and they have an NFL tight end, and Nebraska held up. I mean, they did a great job, and they've practiced this week with a lot of physicality, a lot of tackling. I mean, Rule knows Tuesday, Wednesday is how you get ready for Saturday.
Oh, absolutely. And you've said that they really get after it on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, right? And you could see a couple people pointed it out that Rules, he's emphatic. He emphasizes tackling, and they hit more now than they did under Scott. I think that's safe to say, right? You definitely, they're hitting more and more guys are practicing, which is something we've stressed for a long time. And I thought against Minnesota, it showed up. They're physical tackling team. They were in the opener. And the other the thing that you always look for, and you saw it, was guys rallying to the ball. They had hats there all the time. I mean, hey, Sean, one tried and true way to prevent big plays is have multiple guys at the ball. One guy doesn't get him, the next guy does.
What I want to see Saturday is when they throw those little short bubble screens,
right?
Somebody just get up there and stick them. And then like 3 or 4 other guys just come running in, jumping on them like lions. I mean, that's what you get the visual I'm going for here,
yes,
where you just see like Isaac Gifford fly in, and then John Bullock comes in with a punch. And
they have those guys.
I want to see that the entire game, saying, yeah, you can throw this little bubble screen stuff at us, but every time we're going to hit you.
Yeah, maybe even throw in a rope somewhere. But
and I want to see Travis Hunter get tested. I want to see them, if he's going to play 130 plays in that altitude, make him pay the price.
Oh, 100. No, I'm with you on all of that. And particularly tackling in space and tackling in general. I think Nebraska will do well at stopping a run. I don't think Colorado will run the ball in a physical way. They have a pretty good running back, and I think his name is Syphion Wilkerson. He's good, but that's not going to be the issue. It shouldn't be the issue. The issue will be perimeter passing and downfield passing.
Their run game is short passes.
Yeah, largely. And then they're going to take those shots, 10 shots probably. They always try to take 10 shots downfield in that air raid type offense. So that's big. You can't give up 2 or 3 long ones.
But if you stop their run, you can keep safeties back. And that's key.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to be in a situation where those safeties aren't helping. Because if they get a way to free up somebody like Lewis Deep and there's no safety, you're in trouble.
Yeah, you're right. So I feel pretty good about Nebraska's defense. And in some ways I feel really good about it. I think they're veteran and they're really hungry and they have talent, especially on the back end. I mean, it's in that sense, it's a pretty good matchup because your strength is your back end on Nebraska. That's a good bunch of guys.
Tony White, I mean, for his debut, I mean, if they would have won that game.
Oh, God. Really good debut.
We'd be talking about him like it was Bo Pelini in 03.
Yep. Yeah, and they should have won.
I would have liked to have seen them maybe get home a couple more times on sacks and obviously force more than one turnover.
That, and they didn't close it down late. I mean, Minnesota was able to put together those drives late.
And they were almost kind of shell-shocked, I think, with the way the offense unraveled.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You give them grace for that. You do give them grace for being in that situation where, I mean, come on. We were in the press box, and we were like, oh, Nebraska's going to close this out. And you thought that until, oh, God, what's going on?
Yeah, as it turned into the fourth quarter, at the end of the third, Nebraska, when they kicked the field goal, I mean, they legitimately could have scored a touchdown on that drive.
Right.
And then gone up 14-3. Game's over at that point. It's over.
Right. You felt really good about it until you didn't.
And that, like Nebraska is the most, you hear it, like people say, they're the most unlucky team out there, but they got to get off that. I mean, Rules just got to get rid of that.
No, I'm not. They weren't unlucky. You do hear this a lot from coaches. And this first game for Nebraska was a classic example of most games are lost, not won. Do you understand that? Most games are lost. Don't lose it. Win it. Go win it.
All right. Before we get to headline number 4, this show and segment is brought to you by BetterHelp. Do you ever find that you're trying to fall asleep, your brain suddenly won't stop talking? Do your thoughts just start racing before bed or at inappropriate moments? It turns out one great way to make those racing thoughts go away is talk through it. Therapy gives you a place to do that so you can get out of your negative thought cycle and find some mental and emotional peace. It's busy right now. I got everyone. We're trying to travel, go to these games, got activities, a lot on your mind. And sometimes it's talking to someone is all you need to get you through some of those tough days. Therapy empowers you to be the best version of yourself, something most of us are trying to achieve. If you are starting to think about therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online. It's designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist and switch therapists at any time for no additional charge. Get a break from your thoughts with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/Husker today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp.com/Husker. Okay, headline number 4, Steve Sipple. It's going to be an interesting matchup with these wide receivers for Nebraska. Isaiah Garcia-Castaneda out for the season. Headline number 4, Huskers will turn to some young wideouts on this big stage. And we saw Jalen Lloyd, get the ball on a key third down reverse, played a little bit. Malachi Coleman saw a snap or two. Mm-hmm. I mean, you got to think the starting 3, we know who it's going to be. Billy Kemp, Alex Bullock, and Marcus Washington. After that, though, guys like Jalen Lloyd and Matt Rule today on Thursday even said Joshua Fleeks could find himself in that mix as well.
Well, I feel really good about, let's put it this way. As long as Marcus Washington's part of the equation, I feel better. Not having him in the first half, I thought was glaring. And then in the second half, he made his presence known immediately. Washington's critical. I believe that Washington's their best receiver. They got to get Kemp going, obviously. Billy Kemp. They got to get him going. And Bullock's a gamer. He's going to be there. He'll be there when you need him. But yeah, what do you do? Are these young kids ready? Satterfield talked about it yesterday. The first issue is they got to know what they're doing, Sean. They got to know what they're doing. That's easier for some kids than others, and it varies. I think Lloyd showed right away he knows what he's doing. You're more familiar with Jalen than I am, although I did a story on him, and I was struck by, this was in, Sean, August or July. I was struck by his maturity. Like it's like you're dealing with a young man, a man with emphasis on man. He's like that when you meet him.
Think how fast it turned for him. I mean, when I introduced you to his mom and we talked to them at that camp,
and that was in
the summer going into his senior year.
Yeah. So it's summer of 2022.
Right. He was at Nebraska in a 7-on-7 event.
Yeah.
He wasn't even on the radar to be a Husker.
Nope.
And he had a Joe Gans Northern Iowa offer, and he had a lot of track offers. He was looking to take part in triple jump and long jump and maybe be a part of a 4x1 relay team at the D1 level, which that's what he's going to do at Nebraska too. But when Matt Rule came to Nebraska and Evan Cooper, one of the first people they offered and called was Jalen Lloyd. They were studying this guy from afar. I mean, Matt Rule, I think, knew he was going to take this job, but he wanted to make sure he got everything he wanted before he accepted it.
Right.
And they were evaluating Jalen Lloyd for several weeks.
Is that right?
And then they offered him right away and landed him on. And he makes his mother was an All-American track athlete here, phenomenal. And he looked good on that touch.
Yeah, he did. He looked pretty good. I mean, there's just so much that goes into the conversation. You can't just say, well, he's got speed. Yeah, okay, he does have speed. But does he understand what he's doing? And is he ready for the moment? I mean, we're talking about this stadium that's going to be jam-packed. We're talking about this game that means so much to so many people. There's so many layers to this. If you go down and watch warm-ups, you'll be struck by the intensity before this game. Now, think about that being 18 years old. I mean, it's a lot. It's a lot. I've stood in those warm-ups. Like, I remember Oklahoma, for instance, 2021, that game, being down there on that field, and it's a tightly enclosed field like it is in Boulder, and it's really intense. Is a kid ready for that?
There's two that jump out to me in pregame where I saw Nebraska play, like USC in 2007 when they came here, #1 in the country with Pete Carroll.
Boy.
And it was a night game.
Intense.
ABC, Musburger, Herb Street. And, I mean, those USC guys were just screaming and yelling and laughing. They're like, this is going to be awesome. I mean, like, just, and then some of those Urban Meyer Ohio State teams, when they've come in here and you watch those D linemen and guys go through, and Urban Meyer's assistant coaches are always just like gristled older guys that just
real.
What
It's real.
And
The
you're
whole
just like,
thing
whoa.
is very real.
And
Like,
when Ohio State would come out for warm-ups, you could see, like, when they beat them like 55-7 that year, when Mike Riley's kind of when they hired Bill Moose like the next day. That I was like, whoa. I mean,
see,
this game won't be like that, by the way. They don't have Colorado doesn't have these kinds of players.
no, but it'll be that kind of intensity. And some guys are more ready for that than others. Some freshmen are more ready for that than others. And that's what you got to determine as a coach. Is this guy ready? Lloyd looked ready. He looked fine, but not all freshmen are like that. I mean, and all I'm trying to say, Sean, is I understand why from being down there. It's that environment is not for the timid.
And Jaden Doss, like, you wonder, is he out for several weeks?
I don't know. That's a frustrating injury.
He'd be playing.
Yeah. It's frustrating because that's an example of a player I've been told that is ready, a freshman that the moment won't be too big. He was going to be very helpful. We haven't even heard anything about it.
And I mean, Xavier Bets, like, you hate to go back on this, but like, as he's watching this play out, like, how could you not feel bad about it? He's just not in it. I guess he doesn't want to do it, but like, it's like, man, these are your guys. They need you. They needed you right now.
I know. On the other hand, if your heart's not in it, then are you really helping them? You know, I mean, there might be more maturity there than you think. It might be, I want to help them, but I'm not into it. I'm just not into it. And am I going to help them if I'm not into it? Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, that receiver position moving forward after this season, it'll be interesting if they have to go to the portal for more veterans or if they're just going to keep developing the youth they have and the recruits.
I don't think it's either or. I think you do both.
You
do both.
Rule has said, though, they don't want as many portal guys as they have been taken, but you don't want to be Dabo Sweeney either. I mean, Dabo Sweeney's come out with this, like, he was like, I hate NIL, I hate the portal, I'm not going to do any of it. And then they get beat by Duke 28-7.
Bad look.
Did you hear his joke he made fun of? He said, he goes, anytime your offense is getting compared to Brian Ferentz, that's a problem.
He said that at the podium. I was shocked by that.
That was pretty bad, actually.
Yeah, that wasn't a good look. Dabo's in kind of a tailspin right now, it seems like. That's my interpretation.
Brian Ferentz, I can't imagine he was very thrilled by that.
Well, of course not. It's blatant disrespect. No, it was something that was, why would he say that? You know?
And
come on.
This thing with Ferentz, I still can't get over how he's got to score a certain amount of, like, if they keep winning, why does it matter how many points they score?
I don't know. But we'll see if they keep winning. Anyway, there's a lot that goes into this discussion about these young freshman receivers. Now, is there someone else you'd see besides Jalen Lloyd and Malachi Coleman?
Maybe Tai Han.
No, I'm talking about
freshman. I don't think so.
I don't either. Maybe Tai Han.
He didn't play though last week.
Fleeks makes a lot of sense to me because he's 20-something. He's like 23 years old, right?
Yeah, but it's that whole he was suspended from camp thing
for being overweight, which you question commitment when a guy reports and what
as a receiver. I mean, not
what
like
Rule said. Easy. What Rule said was that Fleeks was significantly overweight, which automatically you think, well, what was he doing, and why was he? Is there a lack of commitment there?
Just go buy some probiotics or something. I mean, like, I don't understand, like, how a skill position guy that's that active
comes overweight significantly.
Just odd. Buy some Fiber One and drink some water, you know?
I don't know.
Like, there's a way out of that. I mean,
I would think so.
All right, before we get to headline number 5, final headline of the show, brought to you by Bauer Underground. Bauer Underground is helping shape Nebraska's infrastructure future and is looking for members to join the team. With open positions for laborers, equipment operators, aerial linemen, and foremen, Bauer Underground is searching for the best in construction. Visit BauerUnderground.com to learn more about career opportunities and industry-leading benefits, including competitive pay, employer-paid health insurance, dental, disability, vision, and life insurance, 401k match, new top-of-the-line equipment, and a clothing allowance. No experience in underground utility construction? No problem. Bauer will train the right people in the field, giving you hands-on experience you'll need to build along with the rewarding career. Want to learn more? Visit Bauer Underground on Facebook to view the testimonials from current Bauer teammates. hear about their experiences, the company culture, and the importance of their work. Bauer Underground is a family-owned company with crews and work sites across Nebraska. Wherever you live, Bauer has an opportunity for you. For more information, like Bauer Underground on Facebook or visit BauerUnderground.com to come start your career today. And I can attest, Stu Bauer, the owner of Bauer Underground, phenomenal person. See him at every game, huge Husker fan. In fact, he sits right by us.
Does he?
They have a skybox in Memorial Stadium on level 6 there.
Okay.
The big one, right by the old Don Bryan office.
Okay.
That's his office, or his skybox. And he brings the workers, a lot of the laborers that work for Bauer Underground. They go up there and enjoy the games every game. So he's a great guy to work for. And thanks again to Bauer Underground as we move into headline number 5, Steve Sipple.
Mm-hmm.
And you could spark the program in the stadium where the slide began. In 2001. You write confusing headlines sometimes, Steve Sipple. You get all newspapery on your headlines. I keep it South O simple, and you get all Pulitzer Prize newspaper guy.
Sean, you remember 01?
I was there
vividly. We all do. The slide. I mean, it's pretty common knowledge by now. You can really trace Nebraska's slide to that 62-36 game. And wouldn't it be fun if we could come out of this game and eventually say this is where the rejuvenation occurred of Nebraska's program. This game in Boulder started Nebraska toward this very discernible progress. That would be really nice to see.
Well, the stat among all stats came out of that 2001 game, and it still carries today. Since that game, Nebraska football has only been ranked for a grand total of 1 week in the AP top 5.
That's incredible.
I mean, that is the stat among stats that is summarizes the downfall, and it began in that stadium on that Black Friday day. But I often wonder this, like if Nebraska wouldn't have gone to the Rose Bowl, right? And it was somebody else. Colorado could have gone, or another team could have got that spot on the Rose Bowl to play that great Miami team that Nebraska really had no business playing.
No, they didn't.
They would have played Illinois in the Sugar Bowl.
Is that right?
Yes. And it wasn't a great Illinois team. Like they probably would have won the game. Like how different would things be?
Well, you wonder. And you can't help but wonder. That's a good point, Sean. I don't know. Now, some people are going to look at this and say, come on, Osborne was gone no matter what. He wasn't coming back. So would it have made a big difference? I don't know. I just know that 62-36 was a big jolt.
Because there had never been a game like that before,
right,
in the Devaney Osborne era.
Right. It was this novel experience that we didn't even really know how to react to. That's what I remember most about, is trying to write about it in 01. I remember the game distinctly, in part because I had a massive headache, because I think I was literally trying to overthink how do you do this? I've never seen.
Well, they almost came back too.
They did.
People forget, like they had like a mistake by the goal. I mean, they got it within.
I got it within 14 or 10.
And then they were about to score again,
right.
though, and then they screwed. They were in striking distance to make it interesting.
Absolutely, they were. So, and that was kind of part of the intensity. They did have a shot, but anyway, it would be a fabulous story if, and this is the type of game that could provide a spark. I'm not saying one game against a 22nd ranked team is going to turn. Please don't think I'm saying it's going to turn things around, but you're always looking for sparks, and this would be quite a spark in this setting, right?
Think how freaky this series has been, though. 2019, Nebraska blew the 17-point lead. They start the half with a delay of game penalty.
Yeah, which is a little more common than anything, but that was bad.
I mean, and then all those fans were there getting ready to celebrate the program, and then
Nebraska fans,
that turned the Scott Frost era that day.
Oh, I thought
that's the last week Nebraska's been ranked.
Yeah, 25th. They were 25th that day.
Then in 2018, they had to play, and Adrian Martinez's leg got twisted.
Yeah.
And they had to bring in Andrew Bunch.
Yeah.
And J.D. Spielman dropped a pass that if he catches it, they get a first down, they run the clock out. And then Colorado was able to score to win the game.
Jiminy Christmas.
So like then you go back even further. I mean, all those games were very close.
Yeah.
Like even after 0-1, I mean, the 05 game was kind of the anomaly of the series, the restore the order game. That's Zach Taylor right there in the restore the order game.
See, and then the other part of this is a very much a rivalry game. I'm always taken aback a little bit, or taken at least, by when you talk to people from Colorado, how casually they say they hate Nebraska. Because I don't feel like it's reciprocated. Do Nebraska fans hate Colorado? It doesn't seem like it to me.
Yeah, I don't get it. Like
Colorado fans hate Nebraska.
I was trying to think of an incident that happened when I was out there all those years, and this is a funny story. This was pre-GPS days, pre-cell phone days. So if you got lost, you had to ask for directions, right?
Yeah.
You pull off to a gas station or ask the guy for some, hey, how do you get here? A guy gave us wrong directions.
No.
Yeah, he gave us wrong directions.
Really?
Like, I mean, we were going completely the other way of where we needed to go.
That's
and I'm
just
like,
dirty
wow,
cool.
That's the rivalry right there.
Yeah, that's a good example of it. And then I'm sure a lot of people would have stories. I've been to more threatening atmospheres than Colorado. Missouri, I thought was more threatening.
Wisconsin in 2000.
That was pretty threatening.
I mean, I've never seen so many large human beings that drunk.
Thank you. It was like you're in Tijuana, except it was all big people. There's a massive drunk.
Remember our old colleague Thor Tripp? He was a big guy. And I go, it was like a bunch of Thor Tripps walking.
Or bigger. Around. Yeah. Well, I was walking to the car and I was struck by the same thing. How drunk people were and how big
you would not want to get into a bar fight in Madison.
Oh, not especially me. I'm 5'8". I mean, just be crawling under people.
Barry Alvarez saw that. He goes, look at all these people in this state. I'm going to start recruiting linemen out of here.
He's famous for having said that. That's exactly right. But anyway, the rivalry aspect of this adds to the intensity. It's Colorado, Nebraska. So there is so much about this game that has created all this energy, and that energy will be very evident starting, I don't know, at 8:00 on Saturday morning. I mean, probably earlier, and then it'll reach a crescendo at kickoff, and you'll understand why there's going to be 10 million people watching. It is going to be a fascinating afternoon.
Yeah, and Fox hit the lottery. I mean,
they did.
They went Deion for their first two picks,
and then got a W out of the gate, and then now you get Nebraska.
And then to top things off, Spectrum Cable is in this dispute with ESPN. So 15 million of the 70 million ESPN subscribers don't even get ESPN.
That helps.
So 5 of the 6 highest rated games. Now, ABC had the number 1 game last week, LSU, Florida State. Mm-hmm. But the next 5 were all non-ABC ESPN. They were all Fox, NBC, CBS. I mean, it's a television battle between these networks. And that's why, like, if, Florida State, when you start to talk about the future of conference realignment, that's why Florida State and Clemson and these teams hold value. Because if Fox were to secure them into the Big Ten, like, that's a death blow to ESPN.
Ooh, interesting.
Think about the viewership that they lose by not having those teams in their package.
Oh, yeah.
Because you compare Clemson and Florida State against Wake Forest and these teams, and they draw a number.
Yeah.
Now you're going to put them in another. I mean, so, yeah, it's going to be fun. I'm so looking forward to this. We're going to catch up with Parker Gabriel out there, old friend.
Yeah, we're going to have a steak with Parker.
Boulder Cork, by the way, as we're going.
I'm sorry?
The Boulder Cork.
That's what it's called. Where are we staying?
We're staying in Broomfield. We end up, I've only, in my history of this trip, I've only stayed in actual Boulder one time, and I just got lucky. We stayed at there's a Marriott you can like walk to from the state. I was able to get a room there once, but we've always stayed at either the Renaissance or the Courtyard in Broomfield.
That's not where Colorado's staying?
They're at the Renaissance,
and
we're at the Courtyard.
Okay.
But we're 10 minutes from the stadium.
Okay, and I would leave you with this thought. Next week, I don't know when the TV ratings come out, but we need to be aware of that. Yeah, because that'll be a story. That's not just a nugget on the message board. I think that's going to be a significant story, that number.
Yeah, it's
going to be a massive number.
And will it outdo Texas, Alabama?
That's the story. Will it? I think it's got a good shot.
Deion element outdo the 2 of the biggest blue blood brands ever in the game of college football.
It's not just Deion, though. It's Nebraska's still a draw. They're still a national draw.
And it's funny how that irritates some people on the outside that we won't just go away. They want Nebraska to go away. Just get out of here. No, we're not.
Not everybody.
But there's just jealousy.
Yeah.
Like you sense the jealousy. Like, God, look at that volleyball game. That's nuts.
Don't you think, Sean, that there's also a large segment of people that want Nebraska back?
True.
Like it's nice to see Florida State look like a national.
I would like to see Miami back.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people feel that way about Nebraska. I think a lot of people, Sean, are like, come on, Nebraska. Come on.
Get it figured out.
Yeah. Get your crap together. Like Florida State did. Florida State, Sean, I mean, what Norvell did, I'll tell you what he did. He went in there and revamped the offensive line. I'm not going to make this a Florida State discussion, but my brother's a season ticket holder. I know about this stuff. I watched that game and I was shocked by how good their offensive line is compared to where it was 3 years ago.
And they didn't get good till the third year. He didn't go to a bowl his first 2 years.
He was struggling. He was on the struggle bus. They are not struggling now. That is a national title. Like I would say damn near favorite.
Hey, I mean, put him in my playoff picks.
That's a great pick.
I had my 4 picks. They were one of them.
You know who I put? Clemson. What an idiot.
They're like you can say they're for sure out of it now.
They're not going to beat Florida State. I mean, idiotic.
It'd be funny if they played Iowa in a bowl game after that comedy.
Dabo's thinking, why would you say that? I think he's in a minor tailspin, Clemson.
All right.
Now
well,
watch, they'll lose one game.
We are going to be live, Steve, post-game show after the game, and we're shooting for, let's stay on Central time for our viewers, but we're thinking 5:30 Central.
Oh, yeah, that's good.
We got to get enough. I mean, it depends. If we can get on by 5, we will, but probably 5:30 is our goal. And we'll update the time on YouTube so you'll know the countdown when we're going to go on. But if you're not a follower, subscriber, download, follow us here. We've also got a great deal on HuskerOnline.com, 50% off an annual membership for this week for the Colorado-Nebraska game. So sign up on there as well and get us on the podcast side. If you don't have time to watch it on YouTube, you can find us anywhere you can find podcasts for Husker Online. Steve Sipple, I'm Sean Callahan. We'll see you in Boulder.